Today we're going to be working on planting some of our warm weather crops out in our garden. So that's like things like beans, tomatoes, peppers, some flowers, winter squashes, and things like that. We are going to be starting with doing some pole beans. These are beans that we have saved. We had a friend last year who said that they had some beans they weren't going to use anymore, and that if we wanted to come get them, we could. So we did. We went over there. They were overripe to be like green beans still, but we picked them and then saved all the seeds and made shelly beans and then dried seeds out to plant, and that's what we're going to be planting today. Here is the row we're going to be planting them in. It's the first row in our garden. We're thinking about doing 2 rows, and we do already have some manure down in the row. So he is putting composted kitchen scraps and other things that we had in a compost tumbler from last summer, and he's just putting it on top of the manure that we already put down. This is the compost tumbler that we're taking that compost out of. We got this for free from someone. They didn't want it anymore, asked us if we wanted it, and we took it. So we're just using little shovels and digging the compost out of there and putting it into a bucket. I'm just going to water this row, water all this stuff in and get it nice and damp. Now we are adding compost. This is compost that we had in the back of our garden, and we had added to it for multiple years. And then we separated it and put it in our compost bay. We separated it into a few different piles. Compost that needed to be broken down more, and compost that was ready to use. And this is the stuff that was ready to be used. We have our bed all amended. Next, we're gonna till this part in to make it easier to plant and to mix everything together. It does look pretty good though. I am happy with the way our compost turned out. These are the beans that we're gonna be planting. I started these on May 21st. It is now June 3rd, so about 2 weeks, and they're ready to plant. The bush beans aren't ready yet, so we'll just wait to do those. We'll give them a little bit longer. But the pole beans, they look good. They look ready to go. We have the row tilled. We have the posts in. We're thinking about doing a wire trellis. We'll see. We'll look into it a little bit more before we actually build a trellis, but at least we have the poles in. And I'm going to start planting, and I'm going to plant them about 4 to 6 inches apart. I'm just going to take them out of the cubes, squeeze them around a little bit, just to get everything loosened up. You don't want to just pull on the plant. You got nice roots. I'm just going to dig a hole and put them in. I'm going to do that all the way down. We don't have enough plants to do this whole row, so I think we're going to finish it off with seeds at the end also. We have this row of pole beans planted. You always want to water everything in really well. It helps the roots grow. Just the plants need water a lot at this stage. Not too much. You can obviously overwater them, but you want them to be damp enough where they can grow. You don't want them to dry out. And then down here we planted some seeds, pole bean seeds. And then after these get a little bit bigger, we will mulch them. We had a friend give us some winter squash she was storing in her basement from last year. Her family didn't want it anymore, so she gave it to us to feed our goats. We will give some squash to our chickens, but we won't do that till tomorrow. It's already getting late in the evening, and I don't like giving them food like that before we put them away for the night because then they don't eat it. It is the next day. We're going to get started back in the garden. First, I'm going to feed the chickens some of the squash that we have from our friend and a bowl of cooked sourdough discard. Unfortunately, last night we had something dig underneath our chicken coop and get into our chicken coop, and we lost 2 of our ducks. So we're going to have to deal with that today too and make sure that's really secure. We did some work in the coop. We took out the board and the ramp and we laid tin down. We're going to put hay back on top of everything. We added a few more roosts and we put tin down on this side. We know this isn't a permanent solution, but we're hoping it helps for now. We finished planting our beans. So in this first row we have our pole beans, and then in this row we have bush beans that I started from seed at the same time as the pole beans. They're a little bit smaller. And then in the next row, in with our onions, we have more bush beans, and those are all from seed. So we're kind of staggering our planting. That way they won't all be ready at the same time, and we can have some for fresh eating and then have some for canning. Looks really good. I've heard that you're not supposed to plant beans and onions together, but we're gonna find out this year if it works or not.